Hello, can anyone confirm if they can hear me? Maybe write in the chat. Okay, so I'm assuming the raised hands are for that I'm audible. Okay. Can you write in the chat? Okay, so Shri Devi BR, you have your hand raised. Can you tell me your query? I've allowed microphone access in case you have a query. Do the others have a query? I mean, I see a lot of raised hands, but no one's writing anything in the chat. This is a large class, so we may not allow microphone access. Can I get any response? I mean, you're neither speaking nor writing in the chat.
Yes, you are audible.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
In my system, I am seeing chat is not available.
Oh, so that's the reason. I mean, let me check. Can you try now?
So voice is not audible.
Yeah, my bad. Sorry.
So for me also chat is not available.
Yeah, I think it was turned off accidentally. Sorry. Okay, so we'll start in a minute. So I need a quick raise of hand. How many of you are absolute beginners in Python? Like you've just started. The others may please lower their hands. So out of 101, excluding me, let's say, so 37, 38 people are absolute beginners in Python. So uh, those people who understood the code in the presentations for GCD, I mean, were you able to understand the syntax? Those who could not understand, please raise your hands.
Yes, sir. Means I could understand the code for it, but like that's just it. That we write this here and then we do this and that. So
Yeah, that's the actually the issue that I'm trying to infer. The course website does not cite Python as a prerequisite. So I'm assuming that maybe many of the people here are not experienced in Python syntax. So should I assume that, I mean, we have to start from the very basics, that you don't know lists, dictionaries, classes?
no, sir. Like no. I learned Java till my ISC 12, and
Mhm.
in college we are studying basic C. We have studied in the previous semester. So yes.
Okay, so we'll assume that you people don't know Python. So maybe we can do a quick recap of GCD. So how many of you are in favor of that? And we should do a recap of the GCD code. Please raise your hands. Okay, 37, almost 40% of the class. Okay, so the others will have to bear with me for the time being, or maybe you can join later when we maybe go to the other exercises. So are you able to see me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So let's start. My friend wants to join, but the limit says 100. I think from next week we may shift to Microsoft Teams if the role is still high and it's easier for me to record there. So this week, I'm sorry, like maybe we cannot exceed 100. Is my screen visible?
Excuse me, sir. Yes, sir, it is
Yeah,
visible. Uh, Sir, I had one doubt, not particularly related to Python, but we got the links for these live classes for many courses, means
yeah, yeah.
for those who have enrolled. And for one or two, they are clashing. Like the timings of two classes are clashing. So what do we do? Do we get the recordings for all of the NPTEL courses or only some?
No, I believe uh, if they are live sessions from PMRF students, we have it is mandatory for us to upload it to YouTube. So I think you will be able to access it. Maybe you should ask the person who is taking the session to maybe share the link to his channel, his or her channel.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, so let's start. So me and Aditya will be taking your live sessions over the next, I believe, 8 weeks. So we are assuming that you are absolutely new to Python. So a little bit about me. I'm a PhD student at IIT Delhi. I'm researching explainable graph machine learning. So let's do a quick recap of GCD. So in this code, uh, are you familiar with lists and dictionaries? No, huh?
No, sir.
Okay, let us do it like this.
No, sir.
Yeah, just a minute, just a minute. I mean, can I have a raise of hands for, I mean, how many of you are aware of like variables, assignment, at least basic stuff like that? And still only 50% of the class. Okay. Okay, so let's start from the very basics maybe. So in Python, the first thing that you need to know is what is a variable. A variable, think of it like a box that you can put anything in it and you can replace it. Let's say I have a variable named, let's say fruit, and in that I can store how many fruits I have. Let's say 10. Okay. So now fruit is storing 10. So if I print that, you will see we have 10. We can change what we store inside that. Let's say we do this. So initially we had stored 10 inside fruit and now we are storing 20 inside fruit. Fruit itself is a variable, 10 is a constant. Okay. So you can see initially we had 10, now we're having 20. So um, in Python, so we're just brushing over this very fast. Okay. In Python, we have data types. So let's say you will have an integer, you will have a float, you will have a string, you can have a boolean. So what are these? So an integer is just like it is in math. Let's say we have x is equal to 10. This is an integer. In case we need decimals, so we can have floats, let's say 10.2. Uh, a string is basically English or anything. I mean, in our case, it would be English, and every string needs to be in quotes like this. If you write it like this, a string without quotes is assumed to be a variable. Like we wrote here x. It is also English, but because it is without quotes, Python interprets it as a variable. So if you want something to be a string, you have to enclose it in quotes. Now, Python supports single quotes as well as double quotes, but I would suggest that you use double quotes because other languages use double quotes. So it should be a habit to use double quotes. So that's three, and the final one is a boolean. A Boolean value is a truth value. If you know, like it can either be true or it can be false, zero or one. So these are the four data types that we have in Python. So if you see other languages, let's say C, in C, when you declare a variable, let's say you will write something like this, int x is equal to 10. You have to tell C, what am I writing? Python is a dynamic language in that type that you don't have to explicitly mention, okay, this is a float, this is this, this is this. It can infer it on its own, so it makes it easier for the developer. So in our code, what else do we need? Hmm. The next thing is you will see sometimes we will write statements like x is equal to x plus 1 or x plus 2. In mathematics, this statement is false. I mean, a number cannot be equal to 2 greater than its own thing. But there are two operators in Python. You will either have an equal to or you will have double equal to. Okay. The first one is an assignment. The second one, it checks equality between two things. So let's say I write x is equal to 10 and then I write x is equal to x plus 2, and the second one is this one. So this is comparing x with x plus 2, which is basically comparing 10 and 12. 10 equals 12, which is false. The second one is assigning. So it is basically saying, okay, x had 10. Now get me 10 and add 2 to it, and we will save the new thing back into x. So it is doing something like this. Okay, x plus 2, that will change into 10 plus 2, that will change into 12, and then it will store 12 inside x. Is that understood? Can you raise your hands in case you have a query? No? 11 people have queries. No, I'm saying if you have a doubt, please raise your hand. Okay, 9 people have doubts. So, Sriram, can you like tell me what doubt you have? Can you make the screen bigger? Okay, you mean the font. Okay, moving on. So we have
Sir,
assignment. Yeah,
sir, which text editor you are using, sir, right now? It
it is
is in
actually no, it is actually Python's own ideally. So I believe you had a PPT for setting up Python, if I remember correctly, right? Lecture 4, I believe. Yes?
yes, sir. Yeah, sir was using, I think, Emacs. I think he wrote a program Emacs and he imported and the command prompt like that he showed.
Yeah, actually, he must be on Linux, so that's the reason. So, in case you don't have Python, I mean, you can either download it, or I think it is also available on Microsoft Store. So once you
Yeah,
download it, you will, hmm,
Python is installed, but
yeah.
where in Python IDE I couldn't find. And can you demonstrate it?
I mean, if Python is installed, if you just search ideally, you will find it.
Okay, okay, okay. I will check it. Yeah,
I
thank you.
mean, this is not the preferred way for developers, but I mean, as a beginner, I thought maybe it would be easier to set up this. I
Okay,
would
okay,
recommend VS Code, but I mean, that will require a different setup.
okay. Easier way is better for the beginner. So being beginner, it is better to use what you
Yeah,
prescribe. Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Okay, so we have assignment and we have comparison. So let's say I write x is equal to 10. This is an assignment. If I write x is equal to 10, this is a comparison. So let's see an example. Let's say x is equal to 10. Print x is equal to, let's say, 12. So we get false because that is not the case. But if I do this, I mean, this should in fact not work. Let's say x is equal to x plus 2 and we print x. We see that it is 12. So this is just a box, so it can store anything. Like initially it may store a number. Now you can even store a string inside it. Okay, so we have data types, we have this. Now, how do you do mathematics in Python? So in Python, you have operators. The first one we saw an assignment. You can have an equality. You can have greater than, greater or equal to, less than, less or equal to. You have not equal to. So these are basically the signs that you use for comparison of numbers. Okay. Another thing that you will note in Python is you will see is. This is also used in Python. So there is a constant called null. Let's say I write x is equal to none. So in order to check this, I will do if x is none. So there are certain cases where you will use is instead of this. So in case it was, let's say, 5, I would not write if x is 5. I won't use is in this case. In this case, we will use this. Okay. So just something to keep in mind. Now, we have we've covered this. Yeah, another function is modular. So what modular does is it gives you the remainder. So let's say I do print 10 more 3. So 3 is 9. So the remainder will be 1. So you will get 1. So this is for the remainder. Similarly, there is one for quotient, that is this one. So 3 times 3 is 9. If you see, the first one is giving you the remainder, this is giving you the quotient. Now you may have noticed that I'm writing a lot with hashtags at the beginning, so this is a comment. When you write something after a hashtag, the Python interpreter ignores that. So this is a quotient, this is a remainder. Does anyone have any questions? Please raise your hands. 6 people raised their hand. Can you write in the chat? Nikhil, if you have a question, please speak up or maybe write in the chat. So can we get more examples of is? Yeah, I'll give you in a moment. Basically, in when you are comparing numbers, you will usually use this thing. But the thing is, you may have, let's say, mm, 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 is usually used with none, but when you will learn about classes and other things and maybe objects, is you will see is in that case as well. For the time being, like if you're comparing numbers, use this. I'm just giving you a heads up. Don't use this. This is used with none. Like if like for the time being, remember that if you have to compare numbers, I will use this. If I have to do anything else, I will use this. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So we have wait. Okay. We have quotient and we have remainder. Okay. So next thing is that we have certain data structures in Python which are called lists. So, I mean, for people who already know this, I mean, yes, this is very simple, but for absolute beginners, we are really going very fast. So we apologize for that. So let's say a list is, think of it like a bunch of data that you can access in one place. So let's say I write fruits and a list is kept between square brackets. So you can write, let's say, apple, banana. Uh, so this now becomes a list. So the name of the list is fruit and it contains multiple things. Okay. So another thing is that in other languages, you may be restricted to one type of data per list. So let's say you were doing C, you cannot do this, that you had strings in the beginning and now you're adding a number. But in Python, you are allowed to do that. Like in a list, you can add different types of data. So now what can you do with a list that may, okay, I have stored numbers inside a list. Now, how can I access them? So in Python, in fact, in any language, the indexing starts with zero. That is the first element is the zeroth element. The second is the first and so on. So if I want to get the first element, I would do print fruits and then like this. Okay. Inside square brackets, you type which number do you want. So this will print apple. So if we try to run this, we see apple. Similarly, if we do fruits 1, we can see apple and banana. So in a list, you can basically order items and then you can access them one by one. So there is another way to do it. Let's say you had 100 digits and you want to get the last one. There is a way to come in the reverse order. So let's say I do -1. -1 gets me the last item. So we got 20. So there is another way to do this. Let's say we did print fruits. This is 0, 1, 2, 3. So in this case, I had to count this. But in case I don't want to do this, I can do -1. You can see we got the same output. So if this is -1, this will be -2, this will be -3. So if I, let's say, do -2, so I will get 10. So we have 20 and we have 10. Okay. So in a list, you can either index from the beginning or from the end. Now, once, let's say you have a list and now you want to add elements to it. How do you do that? So the way you do it is fruits dot append. So this way you can say a function for every list. If you write something like this, the name of the list and followed by dot append, whatever you write after that, it will be pushed to the end of the list. Okay, append means at the very end. So if we print it before and if we print it, let's say after this, we will see. So we had 1020 and now we also have this. Okay. So fruits was basically modified in place and now we have appended 1 to 1, this basically this number to that. Do we need anything else for the program? Function mod append. Yeah, I think now you can understand this. It's 5:25. Please take 5 minutes to maybe understand this code. Okay? Can we? Oh, we don't have oops and if. Sorry. Just a minute. So let's go for conditionals. So a condition is basically I will execute a particular thing if a statement is true or false. So let's say I have age is equal to, let's say, 10. So I will write something like if age is greater than 18, print uh, you are eligible to vote. Okay. Else print you're a minor. Now notice the syntax in Python. In Python, when you start an if clause, you will write if followed by the statement that you want to basically check is it true or false, then a colon, then you press enter. Now in Python, indentation is very important. That is how many blocks do you go to the right or to the left. In C, this is not important. In Java, this is not important. Like how many spaces you leave, it is not important. But in Python, they try to avoid basically these curly braces, and instead of curly braces, you go with indentation. So if age is greater than 18, we do this. Then if this condition is true, we will print this. If it is false, we will print this. Okay. So let's see what happens. So you're a minor because the age is 10. Now let's say the age is 20. Run the module. You are eligible to vote. Okay. Now what if you have multiple conditions, like more than one condition, if else? Okay. Let's say we have greater than 18. We have elif. Elif is basically short for else if. Let's say your age is greater than 80. So print you are a senior citizen. Okay. If this fails, then it will print you're a minor. Okay. So let's say the age is now 100. So you age is if age is greater than 18, print you are eligible. Print you are a senior citizen. Age is greater than 80. It should print you are a senior citizen. You are eligible to vote. Oh, so the thing is, in Python, because it is an interpreted language, so it will execute your code line by line. So it sees age is equal to 100. When it gets to line 5, it is able to pass through this code. So it will go here. Once it executes one of the blocks, it will ignore the rest of the blocks. Okay, do you understand? So let's try something different. The age is greater than 18. Mhm. Let's do this. In case you want to merge two conditions in one, you can do something like and. If your age is greater than 18 and, or maybe even this, if you are between 80 and 18, you will print this, otherwise you will print this. Yeah, you are a senior citizen. So you can combine multiple conditionals like this. Now you can also do something like this. Let's say, uh, 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 let's say we do this. If your age is greater than 18 and, okay, and gender equals m. Notice that I'm using equals like this, is equal to m, you are eligible to vote. Elif. Now let's say this was a female. The first condition would pass because I am greater than 18, but the second condition would fail. That is, I am a female, but it says only males can vote. So let's try this. It says you're a minor. So do you understand this? Now let's say I only want one of the conditions to be true. That is, if you are 18 or you are male, you can vote. So in that case, we can use or. Okay, you are eligible to vote. So by combining multiple conditionals with and or, you can create complex conditions. Okay. Now, can you nest if? That is, let's say instead of and, I want to do something like this. If age is greater than this, if gender equals male, print hi. So do you see double indentation? This if has its own indentation by a tab. When you do another if, you have double indentation because there are two if clauses. Similarly, this would increase if I do more and more. Now we combine these two by using and. If I use an and, I don't have to use two if conditions basically. Does anyone have any question with if conditions? So if we want to check all statements one by one, even if one satisfies. So can I know what that colon indicates after the conditionals? I mean, it is just syntax. It basically marks the end of the if condition. When you place the syntax, it says, okay, the if condition is over. Plus is for concatenation of strings, so it doesn't work unless. Can you use plus operator instead of dot append? Yeah, you can use plus operator in case you want to append two lists with each other, if I remember correctly. Before that, does anyone have any question for if conditions? Four people have their hands raised. Do you have any questions? So all my friends trying to join, but it shows an error. Yeah, because we have hit the maximum limit. I mean, we may have to shift to a different platform next week. This week, I mean, we have to limit it to 100. Anything else? No? Okay. No questions. Can we add elements between a list? Um, I don't think you can do it directly. Like it would replace the element there. Let's say you have groups equal to, let's say 10, 20, 30, and 40. So let's say I want to insert something here between 20 and 30. So I cannot do it like this. Like let's say 0, 1, 2, 3. If I do 2 is equal to, let's say 100, it will override the previous one. So 30 is gone. So in case you want to do that, I think you will have to shift everything by one element to the right. Okay. You may have to write a loop. Okay, loop over everything. This is actually a problem with arrays. If you study data structures in computer science, let's say you have an array of n elements and you want to insert something in the middle, you will have to shift everything after that by one step in order to do that. So you will have to run a loop for that. So that is a problem with lists. So you cannot directly add in the middle of the list. So we have done the if condition. Now let's go to loops. You have a for loop, you have a while loop, you have, yeah, I think that's it. So in Python, you have two types of loops, a for loop and a while loop. So a for loop is used when you know how many times to loop. This while loop until condition is false. So let's say I want to print numbers from 1 to 10. So the syntax is for I in range 10, print I. So what am I doing here? The first thing is range is a function. It goes from, if you like, the ideally you should write something like this, like 0 to 10. But if you don't write 0, it is implicit that we are starting at 0. So in range 10, this will go from 0, 1 to all the way to 10 minus 1. Range omits the final element by 1. So it will only go up to 9. So if we run this, we print all the way to 9. Now, what is I here? Now, I is a temporary variable. Now, it is created on the spot. Okay. For I in range 10, print I. Now, you can also use I for looping over a list. Let's say you had, again, fruits is equal to apple, banana, mango, and for, let's say, F, you can name this anything. We've done F. For F in fruits, print F, apple, banana, mango. So by doing this, you can iterate over the elements of a list. Okay. For F in fruits, this is almost like pseudo code English. For every element in fruits, print the element. Okay. So another thing that you can do is enumerate. This is sometimes useful. If you enclose your list in enumerate, you get two variables, I and F. Notice what happens. 0, 1, 2. When you write enumerate, it gives you the count of basically your list. Where are you? So enumerate fruits. It will give you, the first time it goes here, give you two numbers, 0 and apple. The second time you come here, I will become 1, banana will be, this will be banana. F will be banana. The third time you come here, this will be 2. So this is sometimes useful when you want to iterate over a list, but you also want to keep track of this thing. Okay. The third way of doing it is the old-fashioned way. You will do something like this. For I in range, um, let's say 1, 2, 3. There are three elements. So in range 3, print fruits I. So notice what we are doing. We know that there are three elements in the list. So we will have range 3. It will go like this: 0, 1, 2. If when I is 0, it will do fruit 0 and give us apple. When it is 1, it will give us this. Now this is cumbersome. This is usually not used. So I'm just showing you in case you stumble upon this. Like there are three ways to do this. So the first one is this. The second one is for I in fruits, print I. So this is the second one. The third one is for I comma F in enumerate fruits, print F. Now you may use I for something else, like this. Does anyone have any questions in this? In the follow?
Hello. Yes, sir. What does this f indicates in that enumerate command? Like, means I can understand it is loop variable, but what does the how does that f is taken into consideration by the Python
Okay.
program?
So when you write enumerate, the first, it gives you two items basically. The F corresponds to the elements inside fruits. I corresponds to what enumerate returns to you. Okay. Like in this case, I comma fruits, I will take on these values: apple, banana, and mango. In case of enumerate, if we print it, let's say we print I and we print F, you will see that, let's comment these. You see that I takes on 0 and then it prints apple, then it takes on 1, then it prints banana. So enumerate basically gives you the ID, the index basically where you are in the thing that you are iterating over. Is that clear?
So can we take any other alphabet other than f?
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
it
yeah.
possible?
These are basically dummy variables, as I said. You can write anything. Like let's say we can write in, or we can write maybe, let's say fruit. Print en and print fruit. Like you are not bound to it. You
Okay,
can
okay,
decide these names on your own.
okay. So even if you write for en, even then that index will come 0, 1, 2. Yeah, it
Yeah,
is
yeah,
true.
yeah.
Okay.
Basically, en becomes a dummy variable and it takes on the values that enumerate supplies it. Okay,
Hmm. Okay.
and fruit takes in the values these one by one. Like it is up to you what you name them.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Hmm.
Okay. So the next type of loop is basically a while loop. In a while loop, you don't know how many times you will loop, but you know a condition that will be satisfied. So let's say there is person. Let's say age underscore one is 100 and age underscore two is, let's say, 250. Let's say uh, while age underscore one is less than age underscore two, print hi, and now age underscore one equals age underscore one plus 10. So notice what we're doing here. We have a variable 100, we have another variable 200. Now we say while this is less than this one, keep on iterating. Now what will you do while you're iterating? Print high and increase age by 10. Okay, so let's run this. So it has printed this many times, and after that, if we keep track of these as well. Let's say I print age one, and let's say age two, and we print a blank line. So we see age 2 is fixed, 250, 250, 250, but every time age 1 is increasing, 110, 120, 130, and so on. Now, it is important to have some statement that will terminate the while statement. Okay, if we comment this out, then age 1 will always remain less than age 2, and this will become an infinite loop. So when you are using while loops, always make sure that the condition will basically terminate sometime. There is another way to do it is you can write while true. So this basically means it is forever true. This is an infinite loop. You have to specify a separate condition to break out of this. Like we had age one is less than age two. So when you use while loops, please make sure that you have a condition that will take you out of the while loop. Okay. Now when using loops, sometimes there are particular iterations where you don't want to do something. Let's say even numbers and odd numbers. Okay, for I in range, let's say 20, I want to print the odd numbers. Okay, so I can obviously do it with if and something like that, but I want to show you basically a statement. If I mod 2 equals 0, we don't want to print this. So there is a term called continue. Continue tells your loop to forget whatever is after it. Let's say I write anything after it. Let's say print hi and so on, print hello. It will ignore everything if continue hits. Okay. Notice that I'm not using any else statement because the moment you hit continue, it will not go any further. There is no need for an else statement because if I enter the if condition, continue will throw it back to the next iteration. Okay. So let's say we have this and then we have print hi hello. So run, let's print I as well. So we see 1, 3, 5, 7. It is not printing the even integers, okay? And it is not executing hi hello in those conditions, okay? In fact, we may do this. Let's say we print this for say, You see that? We are not printing these conditions when we enter in this case, and we don't need an else statement. So continue is basically used to tell your for loop, okay, ignore everything after this point, but don't break out of the loop. Okay. Now another thing is we saw continue. Let's say we have if I is greater than 10, we want to terminate out of the loop. We don't want to continue. So you use break. Okay. We had continue and we have break. Okay. Continue tells it to skip one iteration. Break tells it to break out of the loop, terminate the loop. So let's say we do this. Mm, let's get rid of these. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The moment we cross 10, we break out of the loop. Okay. Break is used to basically come out of a loop. Continue is used to skip an iteration. Okay. Skip iteration, terminate loop. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah, go ahead. No, when we use fruit, the name of the list is fruits. It had an S in that. Yes, Swati, please go on. What is your question? Swati, you have raised your hand. Please ask your question. So, what is
So what is
iteration?
iteration?
Iteration basically means looping over something means to iterate over something. To loop, to iterate. So, let's say we have fruits equal to, again, our favorite example. If I write for f in fruits, what Python does is it will run this line and bring up this. So let's say we have printf. In the first iteration, iteration basically means the first time it loops over it, it will get apple. In the second iteration means the second time it iterates, it will get this. The third time it iterates, it will get this. Okay. Is that clear? Invalid syntax. Oh, is that clear, Swati?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, sir.
So in the course video, they are working with Python 3.5, but now it is Python 11. Will it cause? No, it is not 11, it is 3.11. So those lectures are actually quite old. I think there may not even be support for versions before 3.8. So 3.11 is the latest. So anything above 3.8 is okay. Like there are minor differences. You don't have to worry about that. Nothing syntax breaking. Anything else?
Sir, can you please close your Python this interface and open and see the how you are getting that idle shell? Like I have
Okay, okay.
installed, but I am not getting it.
Okay, okay, just a minute. Just a minute. So let's say you are here. When you type in IDLE, most probably you won't get this, you will get shell. Is shell. Yeah, you will probably get this, right? You're getting this. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is basically the shell. This is used for typing in one command at a time. Okay, so you can do this like file, new file, and then you will get the interface that I'm using. I've actually changed the default, so you can also do that. I think it is somewhere here. Yeah, here. Windows, add startup. Use the edit window rather than the shell.
We have to select
Sir,
open.
from where did you means just open this window? That like
Yeah, just a second, just a second.
shall I understood that
Hmm.
setting portion.
Yeah, you go into options, configure IDLE, then
Okay,
Windows.
okay, okay.
In fact, I
Thank
would
you, sir.
also suggest that you change the color. अपनी आंखों पे थोड़ा रहम करो. Change it to dark mode. Don't use a white color because if you're programming for long, it's good to use a dark
Uh,
background.
yes, yes, sure.
Yeah, any more questions? Okay, moving on. Okay, so we have done mod, we have done append, we have done list. Yeah, I think we can understand this code now.
Hello,
Yeah, hello.
can you explain me this program?
Which program?
Greatest common factor.
Can you speak a bit louder?
Greatest common factor,
Yeah, yeah,
which are
that's good.
provided in our lectures.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's what we were covering basically, the building blocks. I think it was something like this. Oh, we did not do functions. Okay, so before we move on to the GCD thing, there is something known as a function. So I'm assuming that everything is clear up to loops, okay? Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
How to import a TXT file from desktop or any other directory into Python? You basically go here, uh, you do file and you do open, and then you choose the file. सर अगर लिस्ट का नाम वेरिएबल एक होगा तो yeah, that won't work basically. I don't think that should work. It may get confused. 10, 20, 30 for apps in apps, print apps. Yeah, somehow it works. But this will cause confusion, so I don't think you should do that. Like, you maybe do something like this for app in apps, like make it readable for others. So is this session one same as next session on Tuesday? I'm not sure. I will have to contact the other TA. I think it should be different, right? I'm not actually sure about this. Yeah, I'll have to confirm. Okay. Okay, so the next thing is a function. So sometimes what you have to do is you want to reuse your code. Okay, let us say you want to use, let's look for a function. Yeah, let's say even this computing GCD. We have this code. Now maybe we want to reuse it again and again. Okay, let me show you for the time being, even if you don't understand the complete syntax. Let's say We have this, we fix the indentation. Hmm. So we have this.
That indentation is a single tab, double tab like that.
Yeah, you can either use tabs or you can use four spaces. I mean, in this case, I think it has set it to four spaces. Yeah, one, two, three, four, four spaces.
So that is configured, or you're just giving space bar, using space bar
No,
for
no,
it.
no. I'm using tab. I'm using tab. It is configured
Uh,
to basically convert it into four spaces.
okay, okay.
Like the default is four spaces. Some people use two spaces, but it is better to use four because that is the convention. So let's say we want to compute GCD of two numbers, let's say m and n. So we have m equal to, let's say 20, n is equal to 35, and this we don't need for the time being. We print cf minus 1. Let's see if this works. So 20 and 30 should be, yeah, 5. So this works, okay. So we have two numbers and we want to compute the GCD. So can you make sense of this code? And take a minute to maybe understand. If anyone doesn't understand, please raise your hand. Yeah, we will explain it. I'm just trying to see like how many of you can understand. I mean, those who are not able to understand this, please raise your hand. Like it would give me an idea. Okay, two. Okay, so let's go over this. We have two numbers, m and n. We want to find the GCD, basically the greatest common divisor of the two. So we create a list fm. Now, if you see in these slides, these are not actually good names. Like you don't immediately see what is happening here. Like maybe you should write something like this: factors of m, factors of m. Similarly, factors of n, factors of n. Then you have common factors, common factors. Okay, so what are we doing here? In the first block, we iterate from 1 to m plus 1. Now, why is it m plus 1? Because we said that range omits the last one. Yeah, I think it's clear now. So in this code, what are we doing basically is we are iterating starting from 1 and we will go up to m. So if we write a comment, iterate from 1 to m, okay? Now, what are we doing here? If I is basically whatever number you have in that particular iteration, if it divides m, remember that mod gives you the remainder. So if I divides m, it will go inside the if, and what do? Append to list. Is this part clear? What is the output of this? Please explain again. Yes, Shiva, what is your question? Hello, Shiva, do you have a question? So you had left some spaces inside the condition. Is it necessary? No, it is not necessary. It's a style thing actually. So there is something known as PEP 8. PEP 8 is a style guide for writing Python. So actually, whenever you write code, you should write it in a way so that the other person finds it easier to write. I mean, see the difference between this and this. The name of the list should tell you what the list is doing. If you add comments like this, it is making it easier for the reader. Okay, what am I doing here? I mean, obviously, this is a simple code. You won't write comments for that. But when you write complex code, it is good to write comments, basically explaining to the reader, okay, the following line is doing this. So when you write it something like this, it looks a little bit jumbled. So it is better to leave spaces between operators. Otherwise, the space doesn't matter. You can write like this, like this, like this.
So syntactically, there is no restriction, sir, like regarding the spacing and
Yeah,
all those
no,
things.
no, yeah, there is no basically restriction. It is just a style thing. Like you're making it easier for others to read your code.
Okay.
Like
So
some
one more
people
thing,
would,
sir.
yeah, some people would write it like this, so it looks very messy like this.
Mm, yeah. One more thing, sir. Sir, for this Windows operating system, this is a most convenient way for beginners. This
This
while
thing,
using Windows operating system, this texted
yes,
rider shell is the best way. Means the most easiest way, convenient way for beginners. Is it?
yeah. I think because you don't have to install anything else. You install Python and that's it.
Okay, okay. Yeah,
But when
that's
you
fine.
when you basically advance in Python, you would go to other basically IDLEs like, for example, VS
Mm,
Code, Atom, Visual Studio, or something like that. I mean, I will show
yeah,
you why people use those, but I mean, this is good. This is good for a beginner because you can basically write your code here and you can execute it simultaneously.
yeah, yeah. Actually, Atom is that is discarded. Like means it is now stopped. Something like came across yesterday while trying to do the assignment. I came across explode and find out that Atom.
Okay. So
Uh,
you've already been given assignments for the course.
yeah, first week assignment was given. So just for trying it, I tried, but it was difficult to do it due to this text editor related things, how to use and all those things.
Yeah, I think it is better to use in this because you have syntax highlighting and it takes care of these tabs.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. So thank you.
Okay, so can you make sense of this part now? Like, is anyone confused in this part? Please raise your hand. This part. There plus plus. Sorry, by mistake, no doubt. Okay, got it. Okay, so we're doing the same thing here as well. We iterate from 1 to n. We check if j divides uh, n, and then we append to the list. Okay. So what these two lines are actually doing is going over everything from 1 to m, and if it is a divisor, we are storing it inside factors of n. Okay. Similarly, we have factors of n. Now we have to find the common factor. So how do we do it? Uh, has raised a hand. Yeah, go ahead.
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, what is the value of I and M?
Wait. For I and m,
Yes, sir.
yeah, m we have set to 20 at the beginning of the code. I will change depending on the iteration we are. In the beginning, I will be 1. In the second iteration, it will be 2, and it will keep on increasing till it reaches m. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, m is fixed. I will change depending on which iteration we are in.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So now we have factors of n, we have factors of m. Now we have to find the common factors between the two. So what are we doing? So for f in fm, so we write it, let's say for factor in factors of m, if the factor is also in factors of n, okay. So first we iterate, we have to decide what we will iterate. We are iterating over factors of m. Now we check, is it in this one as well? Basically, is it a common factor? So if the factor is in this one as well, we append it to the list of common factors, okay? So now our common factors look something like this. F is not defined. Where is F? M, N, I in range 1 to M, line 28. Achha. Yeah, by the way, in case you get a trace like like this, you should note down this, like line 28. It hints you where the error is. Like we had an error in line 28 here, factor. We added an F. So we see we have two common factors, 1 and 5. So let's use some different numbers maybe so that we get more factors, maybe 40 and 20. So we have 1, 2, 4, 5, 10, 20. These are all the factors of basically common factors of 20 and 40. Now notice that because we iterated from 1 to m plus 1, all of the factors of this are in ascending order. Like if we print this, let's say print factors of m. By the way, if you have to print multiple things in a print statement, you just have to concatenate them with a comma. Like you write this, comma, second thing, comma, third thing, and so on. So we print factors of n. We have this. Then we print common factors. We can see we have 1, 2, 4, 5, 10, 20, 1, 2, 4, 5, and so on. You can see that both of them are in ascending order because we iterated from 1 to m plus 1. So the order in which we appended was also increasing order. So in the common factors as well, we have our factors in the increasing order. So the greatest factor would obviously be the last element. Okay, is that clear? So the GCD will just be the last element. Print, let's say common factors last element by -1, and we say GCD is equal to this. I don't know why this syntax is highlighted. Yeah, so GCD 20 because it is the last element of this. So can you make sense of this now? This code. Does anyone have? Yeah, if anyone has a confusion, please speak up.
Last part is not clear. Common factors part. How to find the common factors?
Two people have their hands raised. No? Basically, we need to find. We are finding the greatest common divisor or the highest common factor, HCF. So we can use a single slash instead of double slash in quotient. No, 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 no. There's a difference between the two. That's actually important. Let's say we have 10 by 3. This gives you the quotient. 10 divided by 3 gives you the exact answer. This is proper division. This is quotient. Append means adding something to list. Can I use Spider to run these codes? I've never used Spider. I don't know. Probably. I would recommend using VS Code. Like it is the go-to for developers. You install VS Code, you install the Python extension and get going. But for the time being, it's good to like follow this thing. Maybe later on, I will show you how to set up VS Code. Common factor part is not clear. Okay, so basically we have the factors of m. So let's write it in fact. Factors of n, factors of m. So we have factors of 20 and we have factors of 40. Okay. So among these two, we have to find the common factors. One is in both of them, so we take this. A is not in both of them, so we exclude it. Okay. So we have a list of common factors, and now we have to get the biggest factor. Is that clear? So which compiler is best for VS Code? Python is an interpreted language. You don't need a compiler.
So the program is not clear. The common factor part, how that part is working, how that
Oh,
two loops, two iterations are working. That I have not understood.
okay, okay, okay. So is the code clear up to this line? That is computing the factors of m and computing the factors of n.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So after that, what we are doing is we iterate over the factors of m. If that factor is also a factor of n, append to list of common factors. Is it clear now? Let me reopen this file. Syntax highlighting isn't working. Yeah. Is it clear now at this part? Can you show the program? I take screenshot. Why do you have to take the screenshot? So Swati, is this clear now?
So show the program, it's vanishing. Show the program.
Can you write in the chat? Your voice is very feeble. I can't hear you. Swati, is it clear? Okay, I think we should move on. So the problem now is we wrote all this code to find the GCD of two numbers 20 and 40. Now let's say I want to find the GCD of two more numbers, let's say 40 and 50. Okay. One way is to do that. I replace m by this, n by this in the code and rerun the program. But let's say I want to do it after this. Okay. Let's say someone asked me to write a code and we compute GCD of 20 and 40. Now he asks me to compute GCD of, let's say, 20 and 200, or maybe let's say something else, 1, 2, 3. Now I have to copy all of this code again, print it here, change m and n, and then run it, like something like this. So we'll change it to 20, we'll change it to 1, 2, 3, and then we once again run it. I mean, to see, I mean, it works. We have to like copy paste this entire code again. So in order to not do this, in order to reuse your code, what you do is you create a function. A function is a block of code that you can reuse again and again. Okay, so let's save this code for later. File, save as GCD. Do we have it? Yes. And the file open graph. Now, how do you write a function? To write a function, there is a keyword def. Def tells Python that what I'm going to do after this is a function. Def, you name your function, let's say compute GCD. Okay. Then you tell your function that I will be taking two numbers, let's say m and n. Okay, and then you return something. This is actually going very fast for a function because I mean for this course Python should have been a prerequisite, but so
Excuse
they
me, sir.
yeah.
I had a question that, like in C and in Java,
Mhm.
we have this main function.
Yeah, yeah,
We first write that, like when we were in school, we were taught that to write it and
yeah,
all
yeah,
that.
yeah.
In Python, do we have something like a similar to a main function, or we directly initialize a function using def?
Yeah, you don't have a main function in Python. Yeah, you don't have a main function in Python.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir.
It just goes line by line, and if it finds a line that it can execute, it will execute. People usually write something like this. Who come from other languages, they use this because they are used to main functions. Like even if I don't write this, it will still work. But sometimes people write this. If under name equals under main, basically this is if you would have seen in C int main, right?
Yes, in
Yeah, in
main, in
Python,
Java public
you
stack.
don't need a main function. Yeah. In case your code is spread across multiple files, you just have one file that fires everything and you don't need a main function or something like that. There are, in fact, no restrictions on naming as well, as in case of Java.
Then how do I like main function used to serve as like I write I invoke the functions within the main function. Let
Mm-hmm.
us assume that way. So if I write a big program, not like the ones we used to write in school or we write in college now, but if I truly work on a project, then how can I like do the same thing a main
Yeah.
function used to do?
So when you have multiple files, you have one file which basically is the main file. You maybe name it main or something, and you have to tell the user, okay, this is the main file. You execute this, and that file will import from other files, like import function from file something something. Okay, the way you do like hash include in that case.
Ah,
But in this,
acha.
yeah, you will have to tell your because you don't create an executable in this case. In C, even if you have 10 files, you will create one executable, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and then you will run the executable. But in Python, you don't create an executable. You have to tell your user, okay, you run this particular file, and it will handle everything on its own.
And how do I import that code you were writing? Could you please write that
Which code?
sentence? That import from something.
Yeah, but we haven't reached that point yet. Like we have, let's say we had file.py and we had file2.py, and let's say I have a main.py. I'm just naming it main.py. I want to
Okay.
import something from file one. I will write, let's say from uh, file one import. Let's say I have a function there, func. So I import something like this.
Ah,
Like
acha.
this will count.
And
Yeah,
they
this will
have
count.
to. Okay. And they have to be in the same folder, right?
Not necessarily. Like you can have them in multiple folders, then you can do something like this, like sysappend this thing. Like you can tell it, okay,
Uh,
look in previous folder as well. Some people even write it like this, like from this, like from file import this. Like this will tell you, okay, it is in the previous folder or something like that. Some people write 3 or 4 dots. So it is not necessary to be in the same folder.
okay. fine.
Yeah, okay, so let's go to functions. So a function, a block of code that you can reuse, okay? Now, how do you define it? You say def, you write name of the function, let's say compute GCD, then you write arguments here, okay? What do I need to take? Okay, arguments is basically the input expected. Okay, for example, we had m and n. Now, obviously, if I have to compute GCD, I need two things, two numbers between which I can compute this. So I will write it like this, like m and n. You can write anything like num1, num2. The naming is up to you. Okay, num1 and num2, then a colon, and then you write the code that you want to reuse, basically code, and at the end a function must return something. Okay, is everything clear up to this point? Like we haven't done anything, but is the concept clear? We have a function, it takes arguments, it returns something. Okay,
So where will it return to? Means where will the function return the result to?
when I call it, let's say I call it down here, compute GCD, so it will return something. Like if
Ah,
I write x is equal to this, so whatever it returns will be stored in x.
and how do I get num1 and num2?
I
Means,
could supply it here like this.
okay. But let us assume I have declared the function before I have supplied the data for it. So will it not show any error?
You mean something
Like,
like this? Let's say, you mean I'll be using variables like m and n, and then
huh?
I do this, m is equal to 10 and n is equal to 20, huh? Something like this.
Yes.
Yeah, this
So
won't
will
run
it not?
because it doesn't know what m and n is.
Huh. Okay.
This should be defined before it, or you either supply it like as constants, like 1, 2.
Okay. And I mean, all the functions have to be written before I am calling them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Because it
Fine.
Python actually runs line by line, so it must have seen it before.
Okay. Okay.
Unless you are in a class, when you write methods in a class, the ordering doesn't matter. In this case, the order
Okay.
matters. So let's say we have a function, we give it two arguments, and then it will do something and return. So let's say we don't do anything and we return, let's say hi. Okay, for the time being. So we do print x, gcd1 and 2, run module. So we print hi. Okay. The next thing is, let's say I inside the function I do something. Let's say I print num1 and num2 inside this, and then I return nothing. Like if you don't write anything, it is equivalent to this, return none. Okay. So let's say we do this. It prints 1, 2, and none. Why does it print none? Because there is nothing in front of return. So by default, it takes in none. So notice that when we supply 1 and 2, it is printed as 1 and 2. The order matters. Like if I write 2 and 1, it will flip. Okay, 2 and 1. So the order in which you supply arguments is the same as the one written in the definition of the function. Num1 will be this number, num2 will be the second number. Now, in languages like C, you have to memorize the order of your arguments, but in Python, you can do something like this. Num1 is equal to, let's say, 10, and num2 is equal to, let's say, 100. Okay, and then you run it. Like you can tell it, okay, this is num1, this is num2. Now, because I'm naming them, the order doesn't matter. I can write it like this. Num1 is equal to this, this will again give me 10 and 100, even though I have given 110. Okay, I have given 100 before 10, but it is printing 10 before 100 because I am telling it, okay, 100 num2 and this is num1. So these are called arguments, and you can either pass them without the names or with the names. Okay, now another thing is, because I have written these two here, if I don't supply one of them, I will get an error. This missing one required argument. Okay. When you write arguments here, you have to supply two arguments here. Does anyone have any confusion up to this point? Error types are not required. Is it necessary to use? Because I didn't write this in the previous, which was initialize the number. Yeah, in the previous code, we did not write a function actually. That's the point. We were copying code. Three people have their hands raised. Please ask your questions.
Sir, so whatever code you have just shown earlier, means GCD code,
Mhm.
can it be right now imported and those values can be calculated? GCD can be calculated.
Yes. No, but the thing is, if I import it, it won't come as a function. Like the whole file run in place, probably.
No, so what we need to do in addition to make it means work in this way?
I mean, I don't think we should jump to that point to importing files. Like we should first cover the basics because I don't think most people don't even know functions at the moment. So importing is a part, right?
Okay.
So we will reach that point, like how do we import stuff from other files? But at the moment, I'm just trying to explain how do we reuse code. So does anyone have any questions up to this point for functions?
Sir,
Yeah.
excuse me, sir. Sir, if I have to use the arguments at the time of computing, like
Mm.
in C we use scanf
Hmm.
to enter the data by user.
Yeah.
Can it be done in Python?
Yes, yes, yes. You write input, something like this. The output of input is always a string, so you have to convert it into an integer if you want an integer. So let's say
So
input.
we have to declare the data type.
No, you don't have to tell it that. I mean, in this case, I need it to be an integer. If I leave it like this, it will be a string. By default, it's a string.
Okay.
Whatever you type into input, it assumes it to be a string. Now, I want this to be a number, so I convert it into a number. I can convert it into a float as well.
Okay.
So let's say I write enter num1. So when I will run it, it will ask me enter num1. Let's say I write 10, so it prints 10.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything else? Okay, so we have arguments up to this point. Now there is something known as default values. Let's say for some reason I have a third variable num3 and I set it to 10 by default. Okay, so print num1, num2, num3. So let's say we do compute GCD 10, 20, and let's say 50. Okay, notice that we supply three numbers, we are expecting three numbers. By default, it is set to 10. But if I am supplying 50, it will override it. Now, the thing with default values is that if I don't supply it, it won't throw an error. It gives me 10, 20, 10. The default is 10. Now, in case we did not have default values and I am expecting 3, I am supplying 2, this will throw an error. You see, missing one positional required number. When you supply a default value, it becomes optional. Because if you don't supply something, it will assume the default value. Okay, so 10, 20, 10. Understood? Is this part clear? Default values. Values you pass to a function is an argument. The way can we assign values before the function? Yes. The values you pass to the function is an argument. The variable defined or used is originally defined. Acha. Okay. So is this clear basically? Does anyone have a confusion here? No? Okay. Now, another thing is known as scope of a variable. Okay, let's say we have num1 equal to 100 then num1 equal to 5, print num1, print num1. Let's rename this to func. Yeah. So notice that we have defined num1 to be 100 and we are printing it. Okay. Then we have a function which changes num1 to 5 and then prints that. Okay. Then we once again print num1, but we find out that it's still 100. It hasn't changed to 5. Okay. So what's happening here is that this num1 is a local variable for the function func. It doesn't exist outside this block of code. So I declare num1 to be 100 and I print it. This is the global space basically because it is not inside any class, any function, anything. Okay. Now, when you call func, it will execute this code. What does it do? It basically says, okay, I have my own number. You have your own number. I have my own number. So my number is 5. I will print that 5. I will return from the function and now num1 assumes the previous value. Okay. So this num1 is a global variable. This is a local variable. Is that clear?
Sir, can you explain it once more?
Yeah, just a second. In the function call, if we give one argument and give comma after that and leave the second argument, will it raise an error? You basically mean something like this. Huh? Let's say number is 10. Yeah, nothing happens. It allows a comma. Yeah. So uh, basically variables have two scopes. It can either be a global variable or a local variable. A global variable is accessible to everyone. Let's say I have num2 is equal to 50 and we print num2 here. Func takes 0 position. Yeah. So initially we have num1 100. It is a global variable. Num2 is 50. It is also a global variable. We are printing num1. We get 100. Simple. Okay. Then, I mean, this is a definition, so ignore this part, come to this point, an executable part. So we call the function func. What will it do? It will create its own variable, a local variable named 5. Num1 is 5, it will print 5. Now notice that I have not declared num2 inside func. So when it sees num2, it says, okay, I don't have my own num2, let me use the global one. So it will get the global one, therefore it prints 50, and then we return. If a function defines its own variable and the name clashes with a global variable, it will use its own. It will give priority to its own variable. Once you exit a function, this no longer exists because everyone will use the global variable. Is it clear?
So, sir, to make a variable global, we have to declare it first, then write the execution code,
No, it's not. You have to declare it first. You just have to declare it outside uh,
the function.
the function basically. I mean, it's not usually used, but I think if you do something like this, global dot this, I think this changes the global variable. Okay, invalid syntax. Just a second. Declare global variable inside function in Python. Yeah, you do something like this. Keyword global. No. Yeah. So inside a function, if you write global num, it tells the function, okay, discard your local variable. Now you will be using the global variable. So now num1 equal to 5 will change the global variable. This is like nobody uses it like this actually. Like if you use a function, it is better to like have local and global variables. In case you want to like uh, change the global variable itself, you should not define it inside it like this. Okay.
Okay. So, but if I write the num1 variable under the definition part, so will
Mhm.
it be global, or if I
Like
write the
this.
no, no, if I declare num1 under the definition code
Okay, so basically if
after
we
the
don't have this, something like this.
it, it should be after the definition code.
Name num1 is not defined. You try to print num1 here, but it doesn't know what num1 is because it doesn't exist outside the function.
So if I declare the where you have declared the print num1,
Hmm.
and I've declared the num1 variable there, so
Hmm.
will it be global or not?
Global, global.
Okay.
Global after
Yeah.
this point. Anything before this won't be able to access it. If I do print num1 here, it won't work. I don't think this should work. Yeah, because it is
Okay.
declared here. I'm trying to print here. It does know at line 10 what num1 is.
Okay.
After
Okay.
this point, I can use it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so now we know what functions are. Okay, so we had our code for GCD. So what we had done is we had two numbers 20 and 40. We compute the GCD of 20 and 40. Now we have two new numbers 20 and 123. I had to write all the code once again to compute the common factors. Okay. So isn't this a good use case for a function that I should put this code inside a function and then just call GCD, 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 something like this. Let us say,
Or if I take input, then means I ask the two values from the user. So
yeah, but maybe I don't have a user to run my code. Let's say I have a big file and I have to reuse my code multiple times in the same file. Why should I print the block of code again and again?
ah yes.
Okay. Okay, so we have compute m and n. Factors of m is a list, iterate, print the factors of m. Now we have factors of n. We do this, print the factors of n. Then we have common factors. And then at the end, we return common factors last step. So now what we can do is GCD of let's say 20 and 30 is compute GCD 2030. Similarly, I can compute of two different numbers without having to copy paste it because I have made a function out of it. Expected this. Is it clear? Maybe this is causing some confusion. GCD of 20 and 30 is 10. GCD of, wait, 25 and 32 is 1 because they are co-prime. Okay, so do you see that we did not have to write the entire code again? We just have to write the name of the function, supply the arguments, and we can reuse this entire block of code. Okay, so does anyone have any confusion? Like, can you read this code now? Def GCD, we have two numbers m and n. We compute the factors of m, we compute the factors of n, we compute the common factors, return the biggest factor. Now we put all of this in a function so that we can supply m and n according to our own needs. So compute GCD of 2030, compute GCD of 2532. Doesn't have any confusion. Top of the code we have to.
Sir, is it possible that the same function, whatever numbers for which we want to find out the GCD is typed in the shell, not shell, in the command prompt, and we
Yes,
get the GCD?
yes,
Like
yes.
probably that was the way sir was showing in the video lectures.
So did he use an input or does he use sys?
I think
I think he
as
may be
I,
doing
I
it
did.
something like this, I guess. Uh, let's say m is equal to input enter first number and then you take it as an integer. Then n would similarly be the second number. Can you please cover the commands to run a Python program in the command prompt? Um,
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
see because we only have 15 minutes left in the session. So yeah, let's see. Let's see. So we have n, enter second number, and then obviously now we can't have that because we've used m and n. So we have GCD. By the way, I mean ignore this part. Okay, you may not understand. GCD of m and enter first number. Let's say 20. Enter second number 25. 10. Oh, 20, 25, 5. Okay. So this is one way the user can supply the input. Another way is the one that you are asking, like how can I supply it in the command line? So for that, there are two libraries. And obviously for that, we have to cover what libraries are. So I think that would be a far-fetched. For those of you who need it, I mean, maybe you can just memorize this part. There are two things. You can either use rparse or you can use sys. rparse is more rigorous, but I think you should use sys for the time being. So what you do is import sys. It's a default library in Python. So you do let's say m is equal to sys dot argv one int n is integer sys dot argv two. I mean, it's better to just print.
Could you please repeat what is sys and
Yeah,
arg
yeah. I'll just
part?
yeah. I'll explain it. I'll explain it. Yeah. Let's omit the part after this for the time. When you write exit, it doesn't go beyond that. Listen is out of range. Oh, I did not supply. So basically, in this case, you will have to do something like this command line for this. Let's say 10, 20. Your program is still running. Do you want to kill it? Okay. Mm-mm-mm. Let's say you have your terminal. You are at the desktop. You do Python GCD 1020 sys.argv print m and n. And then so if you have a terminal, if you are on Windows or if you are on, in fact, anything, you write the name of the interpreter, that is Python. Then you write the name of the file, in our case gcd.py. And because we're using sys, I can supply arguments, let's say 10 and 20. And if you noticed, we are sys.argv is basically a list of arguments that you supply after the file. Okay. If you see, it is the same syntax as that of lists that we use, fruits 1, fruits 2, fruits 3. Okay. So if you see, sys.argv contains three things. The first one is the name of your file. The second is 10, the third is 20. So basically whatever comes after Python, all of this is in sys.argv. Okay. So what you do is, you obviously exclude the first one because that is the name of the file. You take the second one and you convert it into an integer and store it in M. You take the third one, convert it into an integer, store it in N. Okay. And then you have access to 10 and 20. So this is one way you can get arguments from the command line if you want that. Another thing is that, yeah, you will use these input. Does anyone have a confusion?
Those two sentences which you added at the end of the program,
Mhm.
uh, they need not to be at the beginning. I mean,
Which ones? These two. For example, will be allowed to use online compiler. I don't know. I don't know. Christian VL, you are muted. You were asking something.
yeah, I was asking uh, the last two lines which I added. The order doesn't matter.
Which two lines? M and N?
Yeah,
These
M and
two.
N. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Actually, these are not running at the moment. Like at the moment, only this part is running because we are using exit.
That's okay. Means in the earlier case, I'm talking.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Basically, it will print if I reorder them, it will first store N, then store M. So we don't need this anymore. We have the definition. We have M, N, run. Yeah, in fact, we can run it from here now. And the second number, it asks for the second number before the first number because we reorder. 10, first number 20, GCD 10, 20 and 10 is this. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so let me like revise the sys part. So if you don't use user input like this and you want to supply command line arguments, you import a library known as sys. Sys is a package, a library which comes with Python pre-installed, like you don't have to download it. So sys.argv gives you a list of whatever comes after this Python interpreter. It stores that. So if we imported sys, then we do sys.argv. If we print that, I mean, this we can write anything like list of arguments. So it will print sys.argv. You get these three. Now you obviously want to access everything after the file name because those are your arguments. I mean, and it basically distinguishes them by spaces. So you have 10, 20, and so on. So if you don't do int, By default, it would be a string. Okay, if you do print type m and print type n, and we try this. Okay, we have 10, 20. So the first one is a string. Okay, type type of m is a string. If we see type of this would be an integer because we converted it to an integer. You need an integer for GCD program, so you will convert it into an integer. So you have m, you have n, and then you can use it downstream. Compute GCD of m and n. We save this, we run this. Boom. Any confusion? Swati has a confusion. Yeah, please go ahead.
One question, this data structure and algorithm using Java and using Python are different or they are similar?
I mean, the concept is obviously the same. The data structure would be the same. A stack, a queue would be the same, but the way you implement it would be different, obviously, because the syntax is different. So it would depend, I mean, where you are going after this. I mean, if you plan to use Python after this course, so maybe go ahead with it. If you plan to use Java, go ahead with that. The thing is that you should know the concept, and then you can implement it in any language. Like it would depend user to user. Maybe sometimes you are in a course or you are in a job where they want to write it in Python, so you should be able to write it in Python. But the thing is, you should know the concept itself. Like, how do I compute the GCD? If you saw, we had GCD using Euclid's method. You should know Euclid's method. Now, if you know Java and Python, if you know the syntax, you can write it on your own. Like you don't have to memorize. Okay, how do I write it in Python? You have to know how it is done in theory, and then if you know the syntax, you can write it.
And sir,
So,
I had one question.
Yeah.
so basically the concepts are the same.
Yeah, the theory is basically shared by it. Code is just the way you implement it. You should know how to do something, and then it is up to you how you basically take it into machine code. If you are in fact, you can even learn without doing all this. Like maybe you just want to cover the theory, you can just read a book without having to cover basically the coding part. If you just need the
Sir,
concepts. Yeah.
sir, as I asked in the chat box, will we get a recorded session for this? Because at 5 p.m. I could not join as there were already
Yeah, no
100
issues. I
participants.
actually, I a lot of students told me that we have hit the maximum limit, so we could not adjust more people. So I think I will be uploading it to YouTube. Tell me, actually, I mean, are you new to Python?
Yes, sir.
I
I
mean,
am
have
new to
you've
Python.
never used it before?
No, sir.
Yeah, so maybe I mean you can go over basically the recording. So I don't think that it would be an issue. I will speak to my fellow TA as well. I mean, we may shift to a different platform because I think the role of this class is quite high.
Okay, sir. Thank you. So this will
Yeah,
be
no
there
issue.
on YouTube soon.
So yeah, it would be on YouTube. I think the NPTEL also has a forum, so maybe I will put the link there.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
In fact, let me put it in the chat right now. I haven't uploaded it at the moment, but still. Switch account. So is there a way to give me access? I mean, maybe you can search this channel and you will find something under it. Can you see it?
Yes, sir.
Uh, I haven't uploaded anything yet, but when I will upload, maybe you can get to this channel.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Sir, I had one question that in this course will we be covering all of the essay like graph, then tree, all of these things will be covered.
I mean, did they not give you the syllabus for that, the course outline?
I actually haven't checked it. Sorry.
I think it would be there, I believe. We have sort. Uh, yeah, I, in fact, they are not covering anything in week one. You are getting a basics of Python in week two. So actually, this session did not make sense. Exception handling. Yeah, they are. I mean, this is a weird course actually. Like he's teaching Python, DSA together. So you should teach this first, and then you should teach DSA. Like combining the two is difficult actually. So you're covering sorts. You're covering nguins. We have already done this. Python in local global. Nested functions. You are doing stacks and queues. Then you have linked list. You have trees. Yep. You have dynamic programming. I think he's covering a lot of. Yeah, he's covering a lot.
Okay, sir.
But I think in
But
if yeah,
if I want to study DSA, could you suggest some book which I can refer? Like I saw the graph part wasn't there, so from somewhere I may download the PDF from the net and study. I'm
I think
asking
I'll
for
have to maybe look at that. I mean, for the rest of you, I think this course seems to be a bit fast paced. So if you feel that, I mean, you have to like learn Python quick, I would recommend this book. Uh, uh, uh. There is a third edition for this as well. Yeah, this one. I mean, this is a very good book. If you like want to like catch up to Python very fast, maybe you should buy this book. Another book is Automate the Boring Stuff with Python. So the fun thing about this is the author has made it public, so you can read this book for free online, like at this URL, automatetheboringstuff.com. So the first few chapters will cover everything, like flow control, that is the if-else thing, functions we did, lists we did. We did not do dictionaries, but I mean, you can cover this from here. But in general, this is a superior book to this, but this one is free, so it is up to you, like whether you want to purchase this book or maybe read this for free. Automate the boring stuff with Python, because
sir, I just saw in that automate the boring stuff that you said, the screen that there was something like working with PDFs, working with MS Word.
yeah,
So
the
we can
problem
use
with this, the problem with this book is this is actually old. This is actually old, so that's why I'm like this one was released just this year, like January 2023, third edition. Is very new. I recently went through this one to check like where it is. Like it's using some libraries which are no longer used. For example, for web scraping, I think it uses some. I would not recommend this book unless you don't want to like spend money because this is old.
Acha.
This book is old.
Okay.
People do that. I mean, that PDF thing and other things, but I would not recommend this book except for the basics, for the first few chapters, like up to yeah, maybe up to this point, chapter 11. After this, it gets into libraries like web scraping, Excel files. New libraries have come up which have replaced the libraries that this book uses, and they are better than this. So maybe you can go up to chapter 11 if you want for your own work.
And
Because
something for DSA,
for
like
DSA, I will have to look. I actually have a friend. He is doing his PhD in algorithms. So I think he can suggest a better book. So I will ask him, and maybe you can remind me next class.
okay, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
So in general, I think for this course, if you have the time, maybe you should start picking up Python uh, simultaneously. I mean, for people who already know Python, maybe today's session would have been boring because they would say, "हम क्या कर रहे हैं?" But I mean, for people who don't know Python, I think we went really fast. I don't think, I mean, we covered a lot of material in a single class, and they must be confused by now to digest so much in a single class.
It was interesting, I must say that.
Yeah, but I mean, for people who know Python, I mean, this may feel like, okay, why are we doing this? I mean, I think Python should be a prerequisite for such a course. I mean, I cannot expect all of you to basically write n queens, trees, and things like that if you have just started with Python because you don't know Python. How can I expect you to write, I mean, these algorithms? So that's why, I mean, for future classes, if you are able to build your knowledge for Python, maybe we can make our classes more interactive. For example, I mean, in my mind, I had kept some basic functions to like test you. Okay, can you understand what this function is doing? Then I had basically made another slide for okay explaining the function. But when I got to the class, I found out that most of you don't even know Python, so we had to ditch the program entirely. So I'll speak to my fellow TA and we'll see where it goes. In case it is needed, maybe we will start teaching Python itself, so that you can get up to a level that you can start writing algorithms. Does anyone have any questions other than that? A full stack Python development for DevOps. Uh, I'm not sure about this field. I'm in ML. I don't know about this part, DevOps. In general, I think DevOps, I do feel Python is used there. Yeah, I got it. You will if you enter the guide exactly. First book, show it again. What was the name? Yeah, the name of the book is Python Crash Course Third Edition. It's a very good book. Very good. Very beginner friendly. And I would implore you to not go for piracy. Like, don't look for uh, basically a pirated version. Theft is theft. Any suggestions for data science? So could you please discuss the assignment problems? I actually don't know the assignment problems. So maybe next class, maybe next. When do you have to submit the assignment?
8th or
9th
9th August.
9th of
Sir, by
August.
Wednesday.
This Wednesday.
Next.
August.
No, basically today is the 30th, so you have to submit on 2nd.
No, no, no. 9th. Like next to
9th of
next
August.
Wednesday.
Yeah, so we will have another class. You have a class with me on 6th every Sunday. The other TA will be here on Tuesday, so maybe you can take his help as well. I mean, actually, I'm not sure whether you have to attend both sessions or just one of these sessions. I'm not sure about it.
We haven't actually received that other link for Tuesday.
You haven't.
At least I haven't. I don't know about the others, but I haven't. I received the link for today and I joined. So
Okay. Yeah, maybe I'll is there a way for me to connect with you? I don't know if there are forums in this course, right? Ask a question.
Uh, I didn't find any forum in that course page. Actually, it is also a query to the other participants, co-participants.
I mean,
Am I
there is an
right?
option, ask a question. Is this in a forum?
Yeah, right.
So
There is
but
no
Python
tab
forums
related
is
to forums.
pretty much complicated. So
So if you join a group, can't you link to my every new message, send daily summaries combined, subscribe video whenever join group. Wait, I think this is the previous course. They're talking about results. Yeah, this is the previous group, I believe. So how do you write something here? Conversation all group. You have new conversation. Maybe yeah, you just have to write new conversation and then a thread will be started. I think this should be easy enough. You go to group, you start a new conversation, you type heading of the conversation, and everyone who is interested in that can basically go into the threads.
okay.
Second is right. Forum is not available. I think someone had asked about data science. For data science, I think you first have to go for Python. When you finish Python, you will go for libraries, three libraries. You will learn NumPy, Matplotlib, Cpod, and Pandas. then you will have to choose whether to go for TensorFlow or PyTorch, whether to go in production or research. I think PyTorch is in general outsmarting TensorFlow, so you will go for PyTorch. Then you will choose which data you will work on, graphs, tables, text. Depending on that, you will choose a stream of PyTorch, PyTorch NLP, PyTorch Vision, and so on, and you will progress down the line. I think we have run out of time, so see you next week. Bye. Bye, guys.
But